One word is all I need. Tell me that the child is mine. The man requested desperately as he stood in front of the woman. She gazed up at him, unable to utter a word, looking at the man, clutching his chest as he continued, That? Yena is my daughter. Tell me that she's our daughter. Conflicted and confused, she thought she was the one who was enduring it all. So why was it that his face was the one so distorted in pain? Who has made this man so desperate? She reached out her hand to touch his cheek. He grabbed her hand closer and begged her repeatedly to say it. After staring at the man, she decided that she had to say it, for his sake. You're right. The child is yours. She's our child, the young lady stated clearly. And the story took us back 7 years ago. Holding on the pregnancy test, 2 red stripes appeared on the test. The young lady, Lee Jong-oh, a 22 years old third year in university, stuttered. This cannot possibly be real. She slammed her head down on the table, where several pregnancy tests were scattered, complaining that the test might have been faulty. She didn't know. She even went out drinking the night before. She sighed, thinking, was alcohol even the main issue? Holding her temples, she tried to calm down and think, where did things go wrong? A flashback of their love-making came to mind. His fine physique image appeared in her mind. She blushed cutely of her appa just imagining it. What was she supposed to tell him? Would he agree if she asked him to take her to the hospital? But what if he gets mad? Lee Jong-oh pointed at the several positive pregnancy test strips and scolded. Screw that. How could he get mad? It's his mistake. Ji-hun, it's all your fault. Wah. Still she seemed frustrated, but was quickly interrupted by the phone vibrating. Appeared on the screen was a message from Oppa stating that he's arrived. She remembered it was time for their date and quickly shoved the pregnancy tests into the top drawer. Lee Jong-oh walked out, and the moment she saw him standing next to the wall, she was mesmerized again by his impeccable being. The man, Ji-hun, a 26 years old fourth year in university, was looking at his phone, unperturbed by the noises around him, until she called out to him, waving happily at him. As she approached him, he took off his suit jacket, complaining why she dressed so thin, and put his suit jacket over her. He was her boyfriend. They have been a couple for 6 months, and they met for the first time 8 months ago. One day, while staying in Australia with a working holiday visa, Lee Jong-oh ran into Ji-hun while she was crying in front of a Korean grocery store because she hadn't eaten in 2 days. He lent her money without hesitation when she told him she was starving. From the first moment they met, he was such a kind man. He was caring, reliable. He always protected her, and was such a perfect man even in the present. But was he as perfect with contraception? Was every one of their passionate moments a safe one? Lee Jong-oh declined his suit jacket, stating she has a personal style too, while Ji-hun commented, it suits her well. He grabbed hold of her hand and asked if she wanted to get something to eat, to which she declined. He paused and stared at her probingly as he asked, Did you just say you're not going to eat? Lee Jong-oh replied nervously, Yeah. She couldn't eat as she would feel nauseated. Glancing at her weirdly, he touched her forehead, then her cheeks to see if she was running a fever. Then he suggested taking her back home. In front of her apartment, he chided her to hurry back inside. She suggested he should go in with her too. Ji-hun declined, stating she looked tired. She should get some rest. Lee Jong-oh denied vehemently that she is not tired at all, and that she is super energetic right now, while the inner her cried ugly, begging him not to go. She needed to talk to him. Ji-hun told her he had some work to finish up, so he needed to go back home. Suddenly, he was distracted by a voice calling for Lee Jong-oh. Approaching them was a man waving to Lee Jong-oh. She called out, Sunbae. The man came up to Lee Jong-oh and patted her head gently as he asked why hasn't she contacted him for a whole month, even though they were neighbors. Was she that busy? She replied that she was a bit busy. The man replied happily back as if Ji-hun did not exist. Was it because she had to go on dates? Lee Jong-oh chuckled in response. Ji-hun was emanating a dark aura as he watched his girlfriend converse with her Sunbae. The Sunbae quickly excused himself, and wished her a good date. She waved bye to him, but felt a chill behind her. She explained to Ji-hun that he was a sunbae from the same department and that he lives nearby. He hugged her shoulder and suggested they go up. She questioned him about the work he had to do, but he gave her the silent treatment. Confused, she could only follow after him silently. She was not sure why he changed his mind, but the end result was better for her. She has to tell him about the pregnancy, but what should she say? What if he misunderstood her intention? Just as she was lost in thought, he hugged her from behind, causing her bag to slip down to the ground. Ji-hun muttered unhappily, "My Lee Jong-oh is too pretty. It's troublesome." She replied nonchalantly, "Don't worry. You're way prettier." He questioned, "What are you saying?" "You're far more beautiful than me," as he hugged her and pulled her closer. He commented, "She's cold." He should warm her up and lean in to give her a passionate kiss. After a moment, she asked him to wait. He pulled away and looked at her. Lee Jong-oh said, "She has something to tell him," while thinking, what expression will he make this time? Ji-hun told her, if she has something to say, she should say it. She clutched her abdomen nervously, and then told him, she is hungry. He crossed his arms and humphed, wondering why she was skipping meals. She laughed and scratched her cheek cheekily. He told her, then, they should eat, and headed towards the kitchen. Ji-hun asked, what should they cook? Lee Jong-oh replied, she only has kimchi at home, Sue. He answered, how about kimchi pancakes? She readily agreed. And the chef was Ji-hun. He skillfully flipped the pancake on the pan while Lee Jong-oh stared at him, mesmerized by his action, complimenting him that she was always captivated watching him cook. After setting the food on the table, he suggested they dig in. Lee Jong-oh ate happily, while Ji-hun suggested she eat more. She replied, she had already eaten a lot. How can she finish all of those food by herself? A few minutes later, the plates were eaten clean. Lee Jong-oh smiled satisfactorily, stating the food was delicious. As expected of her boyfriend, he reached out to touch her forehead and asked how she was feeling. She replied that she was all right. In fact, she was feeling fine from the very beginning. He told her to not hide her pain. She thought to herself, maybe she'll tell him once everything is cleared up. Hopefully, he'll understand. Ji-hun stated he has to go now. So soon? She asked. He stood up and grabbed the empty plates to the sink. Yeah, I still have work to do. He put the packed leftover food in the fridge. From the distance, he saw a pregnancy test on the table. His face dimmed and headed towards the desk while she followed. Babe, here. Thanks for your clothes. Ji-hun questioned, what's this? Holding the pregnancy test. It was then she realized the test she took earlier. Lee Jong-oh dropped the shirt and snatched the stick and tucked it in the drawer. But he saw more pregnancy tests in the drawer. He questioned, what's all this? Her face gloomed as she was about to cry. He hugged her shoulder and told her, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Let's just take a moment to calm down first. Everything's all right. Everything's okay. We'll talk later, okay? I'll call you later. I'll be in touch. With that, he put his jacket on and left. She stood there alone, dazed, not sure what to do. At night, she laid down on the bed, looking at her phone that was next to the pillow. Her phone rang, and she picked up. The person on the other line apologized and asked if she was asleep. She replied no. He asked if she put a tangerine in his pocket. She answered, yes, eat it as you go. He thanked her, and then suggested they go to the hospital together. Huh? She asked. He answered, you have to go get the maternity notebook, right? Holding onto a small gift box, he explained. I looked it up and heard that they give you something like that. Tears welled up in her eyes and she cried out her grievance. I thought you would hate this. He questioned, why would I? I'm just sorry. Are you free tomorrow? Let's meet up and talk. We can go to the hospital after. Lee Jong-oh lied back down on the bed and replied happily, okay. Ji-hun called gently. Jong-oh. She answered yes. The words he was about to say was, I love you, but he held himself back. Instead, he told her, "Good night." After hanging up the phone, Ji-hun looked very happy. Opening the small red gift box was a ring. He has to do it tomorrow. It may be sudden, but the proposal has to be wonderful. There was never a time when they didn't use birth control, although he supposed there was one instance when they didn't. It was a mistake, but now that things have turned out like this, he wants to get married as soon as possible. Thinking of her beautiful, happy face, he told himself, "Dear Jong-oh, I won't ruin your dreams. I'll be a better person for you. I love you." The next day, Ji-hun's phone buzzed and alerted him while he was drying his hair. On the screen, Jong-oh sent a message that she will see him later, followed by a heart emoji, but there was a typo. He smiled contently, thinking how cute she was. A typo? She must be really excited. Ji-hun looked at the mirror as he got dressed, planning the events for the day. He needs to stop by the florist, so he'll have to leave at 2 o'clock. As he reached for a tie, his mother's call came in. "Yes, Mom," he answered. His mother asked if he was busy. He answered, "Yeah, a little." She complained. How could he just show up yesterday without even talking to her? She is feeling sad. He told her he was sorry and that he's been very busy. His mother nagged that he was always busy. Then she told him that she came home, played Go with his father, and had dinner. He asked if everything was all right. She said nothing bad happened to her, but someone threw an egg at his brother's car just a few days ago. There are so many weird people in this world, so he should be careful. Ji-hun told her not to worry about him. He'll come by soon, and he has someone to introduce to her. She questioned, "Who?" He cut the call short and told her he will call her back. With that, he hung up and looked happy, looking forward to the day. After fully dressed up, he grabbed the ring box, tucked it in his pocket as he headed out the door. The whole time in his mind, he could only think of Jong-oh. How pretty would our child be if they resembled you? And someday, I will let my child be the first to step on the freshly fallen overnight snow. I'll teach them how to ride a bike. I'll hold their hand. I'll protect them. And I'll look at them and tell them, I love them. Ji-hun walked towards the elevator as he thought of their beautiful futures, the things he cannot wait to do with his kids. He exited the elevator and walked towards his car, looking at his watch, hoping he was not late. Suddenly, a bright light glared at him, blinding his vision, and a car slammed towards him. Ji-hun fell to the ground. Blood splattered on the pavement. He cringed in pain, thinking, this cannot be happening. A man approached him. He wore a hooded jacket and a cap, covering the top of his face, questioning, "Have you ever heard of the name?" Then the man pulled down his cap and walked away. Ji-hun was trying to make sense of what he was saying, but his consciousness was fading away. He begged, "Please save me, don't go." He tried to reach for the ring box in his pocket, but he was unable to lift his hand. He thought, "No, I have to go to you. What if you cry a lot? I wanted to treat you well. I wanted to live a long, happy life with you. Will you give up our child because of me? Right? It's difficult to raise a child alone. I love you, Jong-oh. Why didn't I tell you?" Even in his moment, all he could think about was her. In the hospital, the in-surgery light was on. Ji-hun's mother called his name repeatedly as her face flooded with tears and heartaches. She questioned, "How can this happen to my Ji-hun?" While another elderly woman consoled her. Then two men approached the women. They reported that they were from the Yongsan police station and the crying woman, Ji-hun's mother. They explained that the building's CCTV had an error, so there are no clues left. Luckily, they were able to get the criminal's car license plate from a vehicle's black box. The hit-and-run accident was recorded, so they were able to secure the suspect's identity. Ji-hun's mother begged the police investigator to catch the perpetrator. The suspect is a man named Kim Jin-gu. Have you ever heard of him? The detective questioned Ji-hun's mother. A young lady with short hair approached the detective and Ji-hun's mother. Are you a detective? I am the one who witnessed the Officedale hit-and-run incident. A woman approached the group standing outside the operating room. The detective's gaze, which had been focused on Ji-hun's mother, turned towards the young woman. The young lady explained that she just moved into the office del and had gone down to the parking lot for a moment and saw the hit and run. The young woman knelt down and grabbed Ji-hun's mother and said loudly, "Mother, my name is Unai. Chai Unai. Do you remember? I studied abroad in the U.S. and transferred to Ji-hun's Appa's university. I came back today." Tears still flowed down Ji-hun's mother's cheeks as she muttered, trying to recall, Unai. It's Unai. A child from a legal family she knows. She was his son Ji-hun's friend, Unai's younger sister, Chai Unai. Chai Unai hugged Ji-hun's mother and told her to calm down, cheer up. She assured that Appa brother's surgery would go well. She will go to the police station and make a statement. They will definitely catch the culprit. Unai proudly comforted Ji-hun's mother. It was as if Unai had become an adult and Ji-hun's mother had become a child. She chided Ji-hun's mother that she will go to the police station and go back to the hospital. The surgery will take a long time, so Ji-hun's mother should go home and she will contact mother when the surgery is done, as if she was already married to Ji-hun and had full authority rights. At the police station, Unai reported what she witnessed in as much detail as possible. It was a very nasty hit and run. The criminal was a man, wearing a black hat and black clothes. He seemed to be about 180 centimeters tall, and his voice was husky. Coincidentally, the suspect was also arrested at his home and brought to the police station. Unai recognized the culprit. "It's this guy. This man," Unai shouted as she pointed her finger at Kim Jin-gu. The suspect retorted, "What is this lady talking about? Do you know me? Why are you doing this to me? Why?" Kim Jin-gu, whose hands were tied, writhed and screamed as the guards took him away. His eyes were twinkling, and he had an expression that seemed unfair to the world. But Unai was sure. This guy's voice is just right. Of course. The criminal who touched her Appa, whom she admired, was like an enemy to her. At the hospital, the detective updated Ji-hun's mother. Thanks to Chai Unai's testimony, they were able to catch the criminal right away. They hoped her son would recover well. The detective handed a Ziploc bag with Ji-hun's belongings to her. It was a cell phone, smart car key, and ring case. Sitting beside Ji-hun, she contemplated, then grabbed his hand, using his finger to unlock his phone. After turning on the cell phone, Ji-hun's mother learned that her son was about to go on a date with a person named Jong-oh. Because of the date, he refused his mother's request to go home. Because of that, he got into a hit-and-run accident. She looked through the conversation and learned the gist of their relationship. After checking dozens of text messages from Jong-oh, Ji-hun's mother clenched her fist and pounded her chest, thinking of the conversation her son said to her in their last conversation. How much did her son like Jong-oh so much that he refused her request and tried to go on a date? Ji-hun's mother was just as resentful of her son's girlfriend. She replied with a message from Ji-hun's phone, "Don't contact me anymore." Walking back and forth nervously, Jong-oh pondered anxiously. He said he wanted to go to the hospital together. He was not that type of person. That was all he wrote after 3 days. She refused to believe it. Her Appa was not that kind of person. Sensing something weird, she decided to go to his place. Standing in Ji-hun's apartment, looking at the photo on his bookshelf, Ji-hun's mother thought of what Ji-hun told her before the accident. "I have a friend to introduce you to." She guessed he was probably going to introduce this person, Jong-oh. Ji-hun's mother investigated more information about Lee Jong-oh. She was even more shocked and resentful. Lee Jong-oh, 3rd year at H University, 23 years old, daughter of a single mother. Because of this girl, her son? When the door opened from the inside, Ji-hun's mother stared at Jong-oh with a fierce look on her face. Jong-oh staggered in shock. She asked the woman, "Well, isn't this Ji-hun's house?" The middle-aged woman asked if she was Lee Jong-oh, to which she replied yes. Ji-hun's mother stated coldly, "I am Ji-hun's mother. Come in." Ji-hun's mother looked up and down at Jong-oh as she entered the house. She ridiculed that it was obvious. Jong-oh was a child raised in a single-mother household. She cannot have a woman like this next to her son. Crossing her arms, she questioned with disgust, "Isn't it illegal to keep pressing the door lock of someone else's house?" Jong-oh bowed her head down and answered, "Ji-hun told her the password before." Ji-hun's mother answered that she changed the password. If she tries it once and finds it doesn't work, shouldn't she give up? Jong-oh apologized and stated with concern that because she couldn't contact Ji-hun, so she was wondering if something had happened. Angered, Ji-hun's mother criticized Jong-oh more forcefully. "How badly did you bother Ji-hun?" She wondered how disturbing she was that Ji-hun had to send his mother. The sharp words, like shards of glass, that shook Jong-oh. Ji-hun's mother couldn't bear to look at Jong-oh, so she turned away while stating, "If you understand, don't come here, looking for him again." Desperate and out of instinct, Jong-oh grabbed onto Ji-hun's mother's hand and pleaded, "Mother, wait a minute. Can you please let me talk to my appa just once?" Ji-hun's mother shook her hand from Jong-oh and scolded, "Who are you to call me mother?" "Because of you, my son." But then she paused, not wanting to continue farther. She commanded Jong-oh to leave while she was still being nice. "Don't bother with my Ji-hun anymore." She spoke with even more ferocity. Jong-oh was shocked, dumbfounded. 2 weeks have already passed since Ji-hun's accident. The surgery went well, but Ji-hun still couldn't wake up. Ji-hun's mother sat beside him and questioned why. Unai came to the hospital room every day, and today was no exception. She entered through the door and called out, "Mom, did you get some rest?" Unai's eyes soon became worried at Ji-hun's mother's weak greeting. "If this continues, my mother will collapse too. You should get a nutritional injection." "So I asked a doctor I know." Ji-hun's mother answered that she was okay. Unai insisted and pushed Ji-hun's mother out the ward. "Still, get the shot. I think Appa will wake up today." When Appa wakes up, the first thing he will look for is his mother, so you have to show a bright face. Unai led Ji-hun's mother out of the hospital room. Ji-hun's mother pretended not to be able to win and headed to the reserved hospital room at Unai's recommendation, while thinking that Unai was so sharp. She heard that Unai was Judge Chai Seobok's daughter. She received an excellent education from her family. Ji-hun should meet this kind of woman. After sending Ji-hun's mother out, Unai looked at Ji-hun, who was still in a coma, sleeping peacefully. Even with his eyes closed, his beautiful appearance remains the same. Shall she steal a kiss? He won't know anyway. Unai, captivated by Ji-hun's beauty, got closer and closer to Ji-hun, and before the lips touched, she was startled by the door opening. The hospital room door opened and a man came in. Unai immediately got away from Ji-hun and sat back down. It was Park Sung-yu, Ji-hun's friend. Ji-hun's high school and college classmate and a friend who was a senior in the military. He said boringly, "Why are you surprised? I'm seeing you too often." Unai responded with a smile to Sung-yu's greeting. "Why did you come here?" Park Sung-yu sat down and replied with a silly expression, "What else am I here for? I'm here to see a friend." Then his facial expression became serious and he questioned, "Well, there's something a little strange. Ji-hun's accident happened at 1 p.m., and the report was received at 1:20. The person who reported it was a man. Didn't you say you witnessed the accident? Why didn't you report it right away?" Unai was taken aback by the unexpected question. "My phone battery was out. I reported it as soon as I turned it on, but someone else had already reported it first." Sung-yu nodded hesitantly, but questioned again. "If you were out of battery, you could have run over to the security office and report." But then his sentence was cut short when Unai yelled, "Appa." They both yelled simultaneously. One person said Appa while the other said, "Ji-hun, Ji-hun." Ji-hun finally opened his eyes, blinked without saying a word, made an expression on his face as if he was about to get up from his seat. Sung-yu raised the upper body of the electric bed and helped Ji-hun sit up. "Are you okay? Can you see me? Do you recognize who I am?" Sung-yu, who took Ji-hun's seat, asked Ji-hun. Ji-hun, who had been looking at Sung-yu for a long time, opened his mouth. "Who are you?" It was a face Ji-hun recognized at first glance, but couldn't remember the name. "You don't know me?" Desperate, he yelled. "I'm Park Sung-gyu. You're my high school and college classmate, and I am your senior in the army. We became close after you were discharged from the military." Ji-hun questioned. "I went to the army?" Sung-gyu's eyes widened at his question. Ji-hun had no idea why they had such ambiguous expressions. Then, Ji-hun's mother came running inside. She looked closely at him and asked if he was okay. Can he talk? She was so worried about him. Then, in an instant, a terrible headache came over him. Ugh. Ji-hun frowned and let out a harsh groan. Standing outside the door, Ji-hun's mother was ruminating on the report from the doctor. It seems that all his memories from the past 3 years have disappeared. His memories regressed for him back to when he was about 23. The doctor also stated that Ji-hun's recovery should be the first priority. Try not to stress him out as much as possible. Unai came to the hospital again. Ji-hun's mother updated Unai of what the said. She told Unai that he lost the last 3 years of memories. Unai questioned if he also forgot about her too. Ji-hun's mother said yes. Unai lied without shame. "You must have not known. Ji-hun Appa was quite sweet to me. He also asked me to date him when I returned to Korea. Of course, it looked like he won't remember that either." The moment she heard Unai's confession, Ji-hun's mother held Unai's hand tightly and said, "You can start again." "Is that really true?" Unai questioned. Ji-hun's mother assured her, "Of course," while thinking how great it would be to have a child like this as her daughter-in-law someday. Unai looked really pretty, smiling shyly as she listened to Ji-hun's mother encouraging her. Ji-hun, who had been sleeping, woke up and was staring out the window with an expressionless expression. His mother came in and asked how is he feeling? "Not too bad," he answered dryly in an indifferent tone. She wanted to bring life to her son and questioned, "Did you see Unai? Unai worked hard while you were lying unconscious. She visited you every day without fail." He asked, "You mean Unai's younger sister? By the way, do you remember that? It seemed like you thought Unai was really cute. According to her, you suggested dating when you returned to Korea, before you left to study abroad." Ji-hun questioned with a dead fish eye and no emotions. "I did? It's strange. Unai's younger sister isn't my style." Ji-hun's mother answered, "Well, maybe she was just making small talk. But she's really nice and pretty. Smart and smart. She was so good to me too. I'm sure you will find that she's cute too." He wanted to think of something, even something small, but it was no use. He groaned, clutching his head, worrying his mother. She asked worriedly, "What's the matter? Does your head hurt again? Are you okay?" Ji-hun told his mother he felt like he forgot something very important. Jong-oh walked to the hospital, staring at the couple in front of her, the man supporting his pregnant woman. This made her feel sad. Then she felt the urge to vomit, so she ran away. She laid on the bed, depressed. Suddenly a call came in. It was from Appa. She sat up abruptly and picked up the phone. The voice sounded like Appa's voice. "Why didn't you contact me?" she asked. He said it like he was complaining, but he couldn't be too angry. "Appa, what happened? Is everything okay? Do you know how worried I was?" The voice replied, "I'm fine. Don't worry." Jong-oh was relieved by the answer that came from the other end of the phone. Then it was shattered with the response, "I believe my mother met you instead of me." Wasn't it all over then? Wasn't that enough to convey my opinion? It's a burden. So can you please stop contacting me? But his voice was flawless. Ji-hun's voice came from the cell phone. Jong-oh was shocked to hear such harsh words that she couldn't believe it was his heart. Her expression froze. A darkness even greater than when contact was lost appeared before her eyes. You don't want to be an obstacle in someone else's life either. You better be prepared when you contact me again. If you do, better be prepared for the consequences. A calm and harsh voice announced from the end. Pop. The phone was hung up without an answer to the question, or before she could say anything. Nonsense. She lost all her strength. She tried calling back again, unable to believe what she heard through the phone, but the call went straight to voicemail. That was the last time for the two of them. A couple years have gone by. Appa, my child celebrated his first birthday. She started calling me Mama. I don't know where she learned it from, but sometimes she calls me Dada as well. Ji-hun, now our child is running around. She also went to daycare. She is filled with curiosity and eats well. She likes touching her mom's face and sometimes sings as well. Ji-hun, next year, Yena will be in first grade. She's very pretty, has a great personality, and has a lot of friends. She's such a bright child, even though she doesn't have a father. At the park, the 5-year-old Yena asked, Mom, why is there a toy vending machine here? I wonder why there's this machine here, Mom. Mom, why is there a toy vending machine here? The cute and curious Yena questioned repeatedly. Jong-oh, 29 years now, asked her daughter, Are you asking me because you're really curious or because you wanted one? Be honest. Yena licked the corner of her mouth and answered cutely, 'Cause I want one. Jong-oh sighed. For a 5-year-old, she's quite crafty, just like someone she once knew. Fine, just this once. Yena screamed in excitement as she reached out her small hands to accept the coins from her mother. She inserted the coin into the toy vending machine and twisted the knob. A plastic ball holder came out. She held it and exclaimed. It gave her the one she wanted. Jong-oh was surprised that it was the one Yena wanted. Yena answered, Yeah. It looks like a ghost stone. A white one and a black one. Jong-oh told her to put it in her pocket and to not play with it outside, to which Yena readily complied. Now I don't wait for you to contact me. Now that I think about it, you've never told me you love me. I'm all right with it now, because I have Yena with me. The season that I could not let go of for a long time remained only as hard sediment like an iron ball, and long enough for the surface of the iron ball to rust again. 7 years have passed. Now she no longer cries for her lost love. Grandma, Yena shouted, our little princess has arrived. Hurry up and eat. Jong-oh's mother ushered. Before Yena sat down at the table, she took out the ball she got from the vending machine earlier to play with. Jong-oh told Yena to not play with the food. Yena replied sadly, sorry. Grandma Guk-sun smiled happily and then picked up a piece of food and placed it on Yena's rice bowl. Our little pup should eat this too. Seeing her daughter being too spoiled by her mother, Jong-oh looked at her mother and said, Mom, let her eat on her own. Grandma Guk-sun answered that if she doesn't, then Yena probably won't eat it. Yena, looking at her mother cutely as if she understood it. Grandma, it's okay. I get full just watching Mama eat. Jong-oh and Grandma were so flattered that they laughed happily. Grandma commented, Awi, I can't say anything in front of our little pup. After the meal, Jong-oh's mother cleaned up the table. Jong-oh wanted to help, but her mother told her to hurry up and go home. She has to get ready for work tomorrow. Jong-oh rested her hands on her waist and questioned, What do you need to prepare for going to work? This isn't your first time going after changing jobs. Guk-sun replied slowly, It's her first day at work after switching job. Seems like she wanted to be mentally preparing for a large-scale move. Jong-oh snatched the dishes from her mother and told her mom to lighten up and get some rest. Guk-sun could only watch her daughter and smiled happily to herself. She has a wonderful daughter. The next day, Jong-oh left for work. She notified her mom that she is heading out and to not forget to eat lunch. Jong-oh walked out and made a phone call, telling her senior that she was on her way. The other person told her that he was going to Gangnam, which startled Jong-oh. She thought they were going to Ivory Planning. The other person explained that their company was sold to Max Planning. The official announcement was made yesterday. Hasn't Jong-oh seen the news yet? Jong-oh paused, feeling shocked. Her sunbae elaborated that things happened pretty fast. It was arranged for him to immediately join Max Planning without even having to rewrite the employment contract. It's a little confusing, but they'll get used to it soon enough. Max Planning is much better for an assistant. She was going to be moving there sooner or later. There's no need to be scared. Jong-oh looked at the directory info in the lobby for Max Planning, an advertising agency affiliated with Soyoung Group. She was originally going to go to Ivory Plannings, but then she found out she was working at Max Planning instead. Isn't that a good thing? After all, it's a larger company and closer to home. As she was lost in thought, someone called out to her from behind. She turned around and stated that it was her. The man greeted her and introduced himself as Park Sung-yu from Max Planning's Human Resources Department. He introduced Jong-oh as the new copywriter to the female colleague next to him. The colleague then greeted Jong-oh that she was Song Mi-ran, the leader of production team 2. Jong-oh and they shook hands. As they waited in the elevator for their floor, Song Mi-ran explained the situation for the sudden change of Jong-oh's workplace from Ivory Planning to Max Planning. It was because they don't have a copywriter on the team. Thus, she made an urgent request for the manpower to be provided. Mi-ran guided Jong-oh to the teamwork space. It was quiet in the department, and the silence was broken when Mi-ran introduced Jong-oh loudly. Jong-oh was the newest team member, assistant copywriter. Then she introduced the team member to Jong-oh. Graphic designer, Song Ki-hun. Team PD Deputy Directory Park Young-kwang and graphic designer Go Eun-ju, to which Eun-ju replied unpleasantly back. Jong-oh greeted them all. Mi-ran showed Jong-oh to her cubicle and instructed Song Ki-hun to show Jong-oh around the company. Ki-hun readily agreed, but sensing the tense atmosphere in the department, Mi-ran whispered to Ki-hun why the atmosphere was tense. Ki-hun replied back that it could be because Director Jong was over there. Didn't Mi-ran see him? Mi-ran turned to Jong-oh and asked her to wait a minute. She doesn't need to say hello separately. Mi-ran walked Jong-oh down the hallway and continued to talk about the company and informed Jong-oh that the director was scarier than the CEO. It has only been a week since the director came to Max Planning. He is the group chairman's son. Jong-oh stated she understood. As they headed closer to the hallway intersection, staring down the end of the hallway, a man and woman stood facing each other. As she approached closer and had a chance to look at the man closely, her world came tumbling down. Life is always unpredictable. That person, the face, the body, the person she could never mistake for anyone else, the father of her child Ji-hun. He is here. The man looked up and also noticed her pale, frozen expression. He slowly walked towards her while her body had frozen in place, not sure what he was doing there. He came up to her and she trembled as she attempted to take a step back, but he grabbed onto her arms.
Thank you everyone for watching. Give us a thumbs up so we can release the next part tomorrow. We know you guys don't like waiting too long for the next part.